Outside the Book continues from the 2014 Southern Kentucky Festival of Books. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're so glad that you joined us. And a special thanks to our partners in crime in this particular venture. That, of course, is the organizers of the SOKY Bookfest, the Warren County Public Library, and Barnes & Noble. And I am honored to close out the show this time with a really great guy, Charles Ghigna. And he's been on the show before. We're happy to have you back here again. And you have a brand new series of books out.
I do. It's a series of books
Schoolhouse.
having the magic schoolhouse theme of numbers, letters, shapes, and sizes. It's called The Little Schoolhouse.
Now, in writing books for children
Yes.
and catering to a certain audience that maybe can't read words necessarily,
Yes.
first of all, that must be very humbling to know that you could be that catalyst that gets that
Yes.
child onto loving words.
That is an exciting and challenging part of the profession. And what is fun is I have to see the pictures in my head because I know somebody's going to draw the pictures. I don't draw, I just write. And to set that up so the kids' imagination pick up from the pictures into the words.
That is challenging. And what people may not realize is that you say you write them and then someone else illustrates them.
Yes.
You know, I think some of us have the preconceived notion that that's done by one person, or as the writer you get to
Right.
choose the illustrator. Not the case, is
Not
it?
always. I've been doing it so many years now, though. Sometimes the art directors will show me 2 or 3 illustrators whose work they like, and I get a little input. They make me feel like I have clout, but they really make all the decisions. And it is a team effort. In fact, the whole idea just started with the alphabet book, and I was coming up with a parade, and the alphabet parade, oh, what a sight to see, a band of marching letters all the way from A to Z. And immediately we had some of the art directors and art illustrators come in and make suggestions. And so it was a team effort, and it's been fun. I learned a lot of things by writing, and one of the things I learned about in the one that has to do with colors, it's called The Wonders of the Color Wheel, and how primary colors and secondary colors mix. And again, even though those are for beginning readers or toddlers, you can take them a little bit farther nowadays than you used to, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, stay right there in being able to take them a little further than you used to be able.
Yes.
Because the gentleman that we were just interviewing, Tom Hunley, who's a poet,
Yes.
he has an interesting perspective on that and agrees that children today are not what they used to be.
No, they're not. I think they're they're more bombarded with knowledge every day than we were when we were young, because of all the social media, because of all the electronic devices we have. And even though we say, well, their attention spans might not be as long as ours were when we had a teacher standing in front of a class for 50 minutes, now everything's very quick. But because of that, we're getting more input, and their little minds are just racing. And I think our minds are more capable of than what we thought, and we're seeing it in our children and my case, my grandchildren, who inspire most of this.
Well, but that having been said, how then do you capture, it's almost more of a challenge to capture that attention span for the limited amount that you have them.
And I always like to go back to the idea of take something big, but make it small and start small, because it is a quiet moment and a special moment in a child's life, whether they're sitting in their parents' lap or reading on their own, their first books they're reading. And I always try to think of that. And when I'm writing, it's almost like, listen to this. And I want to say it in a whisper to this one child, even though I know that there might be thousands or maybe more children reading the books. Each one is in that small moment when the magic's happening for that child.
And it is really just that intimate, isn't it?
It is, it really is. Just like the magic of how language starts. And it's almost osmosis. We're reading to the child every night, and all of a sudden they're learning the words and not even realizing it, and pretty soon they're reading on their own, and that's when it gets really good. So.
Now, you talked about putting words to a book like this.
Yes.
And what about the rhythm? You know, we learned early on, and as we learned in the last interview, Chaucer, who influenced the poetry rhyming.
Yes.
You know, there has to be a certain rhythm that kind of keeps the movement going.
Yes, it does. And I write for a lot of different ages, but when I'm writing for the very, very young ones, I try to also get in that voice. I think, you know, I live in a tree house, and every day I climb the stairs to, I live in an old house, and we call the attic the tree house.
Okay,
And I go
thought
there
he
every
really
day.
lived in a tree house.
Yeah, right. And I do. That's what I tell you. But when I get up there and I turn on my computer, I look out the window, I'm 8 years old again. Or in this case, I'm 4 or 3. And I try to think of the world that way, and I try to write in that. And the rhythms that come out of the voice of a child, and I listen to my grandchildren and children I'm around, but also I try to go back to my own rhythms. And each book, or in this case, each series, has its own voice, thus its own rhythm. And sometimes I let it tell me where it needs to go and how to keep that going. And of course, these are in rhyme, so that rhythm and the rhyme pattern starts early on, like that one I just said. The alphabet parade, oh what a sight to see, a band of marching letters all the way from A to Z. So I use that pattern all the way through as a child turns the pages, and each letter appears with a character from the carnival or the circus.
You know, last time you were here, you were headed to Europe, and you've been traveling a lot, and the
Yes.
books are doing extremely well.
Well, we're having fun, and actually I'm excited because this month marks a milestone in my writing career. With these books, I now have 100 books published. And I just discovered that. I've been keeping score, but a publisher was telling me this, and I have a new series following this. So we've just crossed the milestone.
Well,
And
congratulations.
it's all because of you having me here, being inspired.
There you go, just
You
like
keep
that.
the authors inspired.
We will work to 200. How's that?
200 next time.
Okay,
good.
there you go.
Thanks you so
Charles
much.
Ghigna, always a pleasure.
Appreciate
We've been
it.
talking with author Charles Ghigna. That's going to wrap it up from the Southern Kentucky Festival of Books. I'm Barbara Deeb. Thank you so much for joining us for Outside the Book.